Hey folks, my name's Rene Enriquez and you are watching Uncensored.
This is Rene Enriquez. Nickname Bootser. Black Hand of the Mexican Mafia. Prison gang politics.
Hey folks, my name's Rene Enriquez and you are watching Uncensored. Today, we're going to cover the Edgar Generation. Yeah, it's about time that this issue be addressed. After the call with Sky Version, and we're going to include a little clip here to give you an audio example of what I'm talking about. It got stuck in my head, the evolution of the organization and the advent of social media, right? What impact has that had on the organization? Now, how does it affect the organization? How does the organization utilize it to further objectives, right? If at all. We're going to cover all this stuff, right? But if you think about the inception of the organization, 1956, 1957, or 1958, in that era, the organization was created. Because we have three different versions, right? Prevailing thought is that it was created in 1956, 1957. And then I just recently saw a video of Dano, Dano, not Donald, Garcia from the Valle, San Fernando Valle, where he said it was created in 1958. I think Ramon Mendoza says it was created in 1957, along with a few other experts. But I learned that it was created in 1956. Let's just say it was created in that era, right? That 3 year era, right? So we can all agree on that. It was created sometime in that point. And contrary to popular belief, right? This wasn't formed for protection. The Mexican Mafia wasn't formed because Hispanic inmates, and I hate that freaking word, Mexican inmates were being victimized by other ethnic groups and the prison guards. No, in fact, the carnales, the original carnales, those guys were the apex predators. Like, these were the creme de la creme of the criminal underworld, the most violent, the most vicious, the guys with the largest reputations. They became the founding members. In fact, here's some graphics of what they look like of the OG members, and they had this hardcore steel look, right? And you knew they were all about business, and they were. I mean, they would eliminate a guy quick. That is not even a question as to whether they would put in work or not, because they did. In fact, it was founded at DVI, at the Dual Vocational Institution, uh, also known as Tracy, while it was a juvenile detention facility. It was like an extension of YA. And a lot of the guys were teenagers when they got in. Yeah, I mean, they had a certain way they carried themselves, the OGs, right? And even that is a contemporary phrase from the 80s, right? The original carnales were they had a certain air about them, command presence, bigger than life personalities, and extremely violent. You knew they were gangsters, right? You knew they were gangsters just by the way they carried themselves. And there was no existence of social media or this contemporary slang. It was the typical caló Spanish slang, like frajos, pisto, and rucas, and that kind of slang. That's the vernacular that dominated the prison yards, right? Uh, there wasn't any made up stuff, right? It was all from decades and decades prior to the inception of the organization. It carried over into the Mexican Mafia because Mexican Mafia members were from gangs in Southern California, a lot of Northern California, and most of the founding members were from Maravilla, believe it or not. They were Maravilla gang members. I think there were like a total of approximately 15 members that were in the first wave of induction into the organization. So this is East LA at its finest, right? You'll note by some of the original pictures of the founding members that their tattoos are kind of muted, right? They're kind of discreet about membership because membership was a secret at the time. It was a secret criminal organization, and everybody basically kept it that way, right? I mean, it was kind of one of the worst kept secrets in the world because everybody knew what the ML was, but they wouldn't flaunt it, right? Some of the tattoos they did, have Emmett tattoos. Some of them had little tiny black hands. Uh, but that generation was pretty discreet about what they did. Even the murders, right? No Sureños were involved. No Southsider understood that politics were going down. They were completely isolated from organizational business. And that was the core of the MS strength, right? That Sureños and outsiders knew nothing of the organization. It was a completely quiet, secret organization that moved in silence. It moved in complete silence. And they were very efficient. They didn't hesitate to eliminate people. And they did it frequently. Frequently. You know, from the 60s to the 80s, there's dozens of eliminations that they participated in. Uh, and like I said, without the facilitation of Sureños and without the participation of women, without the involvement of external gang members, nobody knew about what the organization did. It just did, right? And I think that was one of the strongest attributes of the organization, that it was completely independent, that it was completely self-sufficient, that it was completely self-reliant. And that was the stoicism of the organization was, these are stoic men. These are really strong alpha male type A personality men. They had to be. They were running a criminal organization, and they were the creme de la creme. Again, the cream of the crop in the criminal underworld in the California Department of Corrections. Although it originated in DBI, the CDC had the bright idea of transferring all the guys out that were considered MM members to different locations. And what did that do? Think of oncology, right? Cancer. And cancer, a primary tumor, seeks to spread, right? It's called metastases, where a little cellular piece is moved by the lymphatic system to another part of the body where it embeds itself, right? This little malignancy, right? And it goes through a process called angiogenesis, right? Where it starts growing little vessels and veins and it becomes a secondary tumor. That's metastases. So when the CDC transferred all these guys to different prisons, the guys that were Mexican Mafia members, all they did was spread the cancer. So those Mexican Mafia members that went to Soledad, that went to Folsom, that went to San Quentin, they started the same thing there. They started committing acts of violence, participating in eliminations, and recruiting members. But that was the original founding members and the beginning of the organization. And it was what it was. It was a mob, right? Really just a prison gang at the time because it hadn't developed, the sophisticated money generating endeavors that it has today. So it was really just a prison gang, but it had its ferocity and it had its reputation and it had this image of who it was. And those are the images you're seeing depicted on the screen, these black and white pictures, some of these older color pictures. Those are OG guys, right? And they carried about that reputation, right? Then came my generation, right? My generation, we still intermingled with some of the founders. Like I met Weddle Flores. I met Joe Morgan. He wasn't a founder. Topo Peters was my co-defendant. That's Topo from Oyo Soto. He was a founder. I knew Kilroy. He was a founder. Overdosed with him one time in the cell. In fact, they sent me to his cell one day. They said, take care of Kilroy because he tends to overdose. And what happens? I ended up overdosing in the cell with Kilroy. I got a tongue lashing for that. In fact, Wino from La Rana told me, he said, man, what's the matter with you? You were supposed to go in there and take care of him, and you end up ODing, right? But, I mean, Kilroy was a pig when it came to Carga, and he would shoot dope all day long, right? And I tried to hang with him, and I just couldn't. Obviously, I overdosed. But, yeah, I met some of the guys that were founders, right? And but like I was a young brother. I was 22 years old. I got in 1985. Some of those guys were still around. They were still around, um, and we emulated their behavior. We came with the same barrio speak, the same cultural beliefs, the same things that they had founded the organization on. But we were a contemporary group. They called us the Pepsi generation I mean, because of those commercials about Pepsi, right? Uh, this new generation of youth that drink Pepsi and blah 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 blah. So somebody in the media called us that, and it stuck, right? But we were a little different. It was like guys like Chuy, Mariano Martinez, myself, David Galvadon, Spider from Cataranas, Tablas from Florencia, which is Arturo Castellanos, Babo, Braulio Castellanos from Florencia, Night Owl from Artesia, uh, Pee Wee, Alex Aguirre from Avenues, Richie Aguirre, Psycho from the Avenues, Psycho from Santa Monica, that's Victor Gallegos. There's a lot of us, Marky Quiros, little Marky Quiros. There's a lot of us that got in at that time. Like dozens of guys got in that recruitment phase in the 80s, but we had a different mentality. Like the founders had like 20 years on us. So there's this generational gap, right? There was a generational gap in the organization. And we had like kind of different beliefs on how to hustle and how to move, right? We're a little louder, a little more out front. In fact, I was one of the first cardenales to get the black hand emblazoned on my chest that big. And I caught a lot of flack for it. Like, why did you do that? Why did you put it on your chest? And that's a little loud. And it was Bebito and Kilroy. I remember them. They were criticizing me for doing it. And and I remember Bebito asked me, well, why'd you do that? Why'd you put that tattoo? I said, well, my carnal. And he said, we have to earn it. And I says, well, I thought when I was a carnal, I did earn it. And he didn't say anything after that. And it wasn't confrontational. It was just a casual banter back and forth. Uh, but nobody had it at the time like that. I think Guate was the only one that had it in its left bicep. And I think Weddell Squire had it as well. Weddell Squire from Monte Hicks. And nobody else had it emblazoned like that, right? Um, but then I put it on my chest like a life-size hand, and then Chico got it. A few other brothers got it, and we're talking big hands, even bigger than mine, right? And then it just became the thing. Like we're a little more out there, a little more pronounced. We're a little more bold. Uh, we still had the same behaviors. We weren't uh, straying to other cultures and adopting um, their cultural style. And we're going to get to that in a minute because this corrupts really quick. This corrupts. Uh, but we had our style. We were still gangsters. We were still from the hood. We came from the hood and we brought those behaviors with us, right? Rap music had not dominated the scene at the time. This is like the mid 80s. It was just emerging. But it didn't dominate our gang subculture. It didn't, right? And social media wasn't a thing back then. So we go through our careers, being who we are and doing what we do, and not once did I hear the founding members or cardenales of my generation using the N word, unless it was a derogatory thing when they're speaking about a racist issue or something, right? I never heard that. It wasn't a casual word like esse or vato or simon or no. It didn't punctuate every sentence. In fact, it wasn't used. And I think and I believe firmly that had somebody came to the yard with that type of vernacular, they would have got eliminated because you couldn't walk up to me or Black Dan or Alfie or Joe Morgan or Nico Velasquez or Angel Valencia and call them the N word. You couldn't. You couldn't do that and survive. It was an impossibility. It just wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. And I firmly believe that the youth and the younger gang members, the sureños, the guys that call themselves sureños, right? Uh, they're not going to carnales of this era, of today's Mexican mafia, and calling them that. I think they would be checked quick. I think that most of those guys know that among themselves they do that, when they're on the phone or when they're in their own little cultural hip hop gang groups. They do that, but they're not doing it with the members because members don't speak like that. I have yet to hear one member speak, even Woody from Compton. and other members from that area, the guys from Florencia, the South Side members, Fox, Tablas, Pablo, Woody, all those guys don't speak like that. And they come from black neighborhoods, right? You don't hear them speaking that way because they're Mexicans, right? They're Mexicans. But this new era, and we're going to get into that now, it's this Pepsi generation. They got this Edgar generation going on. I mean, look at these ridiculous haircuts they're rocking. This is ridiculous, but this is the look of the new gang member, right? Rap music is pervaded and it's insinuated itself in their gang subculture of their era. They dress funny in tight clothes, wear weird stuff, and they speak funny. In fact, listen to this clip with Cecilia Virgin, Sky, and another dude by the name of Sicario, or they're using N word this, N word that, N word, and you see how deeply this has embedded itself in the Hispanic gang subculture of today.
Nigga, for real, you wanna hear it?
Yeah, I do, nigga.
Nigga, fuck you, nigga. Fuck you. What the fuck you don't you understand? I don't give a fuck. I'm the kind of bitch who don't give a fuck, nigga. I don't care.
I know. That's what I'm trying to tell you, nigga. We on the same page, but you ain't trying to
you
hear.
ain't trying to tell me nothing. No,
You ain't.
what you
Hey.
ain't trying to hear? I don't give a fuck, nigga. What the fuck you going through? Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly, nigga. I feel the same way, nigga. Fuck what you going through your damn self,
Yeah,
nigga.
that's what I'm saying, because you the one calling me, nigga. How about that?
Oh, ya vas a empezar, ya vas a
Hell
empezar.
yeah. I ain't looking for your ass, nigga. What the fuck I need to talk to you
Oh,
about?
is that what? That's how you feel then, huh?
That's what I know, nigga. That's
Oh,
not what I know.
hey, well, I'm gonna tell you how I feel right now.
Nigga, I don't give a fuck.
And this is 10 years ago. This is 10 years ago, approximately. This is about 2013 when these calls are recorded. But that's not it. It doesn't stop there because the organization is changing. Why is it changing? Why is this kind of language permitted among gang members? Why is it allowed to continue to perpetuate? I think once they get to the joint, it stops because I have not heard one call where this pervades the majority of the conversation. I've heard wiretaps where a camarada lets it slip, like he'll drop that word and that's it. You know, they'll catch themselves and correct themselves. But I don't think it's part of the vernacular up there with the carnales. I just don't believe that. I refuse to believe that. You know, I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I don't think carnales were permitted, right? Because they still have this image and they still have their core beliefs about the organization, right? But what changed? What created this Edgar generation? The internet, the pervasiveness of rap music, and the beliefs. Like, you never heard cardenales saying F a B and bros before hoes and all those kind of terrible things these guys think and they believe, right? Money over bees and all this stuff that just it comes from this hip hop culture, I believe. It stems from that, right? I think that's a huge influence. But the internet has pervaded the organization as well. The internet and social media has become a huge factor in the organization. Whereas it was like against the rules to talk to any media, right? Now everybody does it. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, right? It's what they're doing, right? Because I'm on social media, you know? How would it be for me to say that's wrong for them to do, but I'm here creating content, right? But I just don't know what the objective is if it's a secret organization, right? Mine is put specifically for the public, right? There's nothing illegal, nothing nefarious. I don't have anything to hide. All my stuff's out there, and I got skeletons too, but they're all known. All my stuff is public. You know, I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm truly not trying to hide anything because my life is literally an open book. And there's numerous transcripts and documentaries and all that stuff. So I'm not trying to cast myself as better than anybody. Truly, truly, truly. That's not what I'm trying to do here. And I'm not judging anybody for utilizing social media because they did so pretty effectively in the Ashker versus Brown settlement, right? When the organizations first started utilizing social media was the senoras did it. They took to social media and they created a campaign that was hugely successful. Hugely successful. They utilized social media to spread the word and it caught fire. In fact, other countries even joined in the hunger strikes in the Asker versus Brown settlement. That's when all the organizations, the big four, got together and started doing hunger strikes in Pelican Bay to protest the brutality of the shoe, right? And they prevailed. The governor's office and the CDC settled with them and released everybody to the general population. What you see today, right? That's the result of Asker versus Brown, and that was based on partly on social media and primarily on litigation, right? But that was the first instance that it happened, and it was successful. The next time we see it is when Johnny Martinez, Crow from Placencia, starts doing interviews with Los Angeles Times. He interviews with Matt Ormseth of the LA Times, and tries to put his story out there. And I don't know what he was thinking. Uh, I really don't. I can't get the logic behind it. Maybe he thought because they were successful in the Pelican Bay hunger strikes that he could utilize the same vehicle to get his message out there and garner public opinion, right? But he was indicted federally after having his case prevailing in one of his cases. The feds indicted him for orchestrating a conspiracy to commit an elimination and all kinds of RICO extortion activities, right? So his goose was cooked. Um, but then he takes it further and goes onto YouTube with an individual, a channel by the name of Hoodstocks. And you'll see a clip of that here, uh, where he's talking about, Johnny Martinez talks about his case, right? And I didn't get the objective there either. Like, what is it that you're gaining? Public opinion? Are you trying to win? Are you trying to rewrite the narrative? I didn't get it, right? And then there's an AB guy by the name of Ronnie Yondell that has his own channel and talks about this as well. So you have multiple organizational members speaking on social media. And I agree with a lot of the things that they say, right? Some of the things they say I agree with, right? But the utilization of social media, being an organized crime figure, is like, it's contradictory. It's counterintuitive. Like, you don't want to be seen by the feds. You don't want to be seen by law enforcement. You don't want to be seen as having a platform. That's not what you want, right? Like, if you don't care, that's great. You don't care if you're indicted. But what about all the other people that are going to suffer because of the indictment? And you're the figurehead of that crew. You're bringing focus to your crew. That's just how I see it. It's not maybe not the right opinion, maybe not your opinion, but that's what I believe, right? But social media began to pervade and leak into the organization, so much so that then Marky Kitos did an interview. Marky, I know Marky really well. Marky doesn't talk about the organization. All he talks about racial harmony and his personal experience in prison. Uh, but it was shocking for me to see that, right? That Mexican Mafia members are participating in interviews on mainstream media, which is social media. Social media is here to stay. Over 90% of the population get their information from social media rather than mainstream contemporary media like Channel 4 News or whatever, right? Or Channel 16 or Channel 22, whatever it is, whatever stations you watch or whatever media outlets that exist, ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox, right? People don't get their news there anymore. Very few people do. They get it through social media, and these organizations are utilizing. Even Skip, the NF general up in federal prison, is posting on TikTok and Instagram, and what they call this norteño word filters, right? Where they're putting out edicts and opinions on things that he's even spreading them to there. And he's not the only one, because you have Güero Caballo here after Operation Dead Horse, and his wife posting all over social media. This is after an indictment, and they continue posting, right? And you'd think that they want to maintain a low profile after his wife was arrested and he is an unindicted co-conspirator in this case, right? But he's not the only one. There are multiple Mexican Mafia members doing it. There's Terco from Bassett and his wife posting on social media, and here's the images of that. Um, I mean, these are through and through Mexican Mafia members. We wouldn't even think of doing that in the past, but today it's like the norm, right? It's like the norm. And then there's a group that was created up in Pelican Bay called Hustle 2.0, and it was founded by Daryl Baca, Night Owl from Artesia, uh, Alfredo Sandoval, Chato from Maravilla, and Arturo Castellanos, Tablas from Florencia, and they're all over social media. And here's an example of that. But I'm not going to critique the group because if it's doing good for people, teaching people life skills or dissuading youth from participating in gangs, then I'm a supporter. I don't know what it's about, so I really can't give an opinion on it. But I won't criticize it either because I don't know about it, and I know the foundation of it, and I've seen some testimonials that they're learning life skills, that younger inmates are learning life skills. And if it's about dissuading people from participating in the lifestyle, that's great, that's great. So I can't say that I support it, the group itself, but I will not condemn it because I think the premise and the foundation is all about good, and that's something. But the point is that they're utilizing social media to promote it, and this is the organization doing that, right? It's in music. Mexican mafia members are having corridos written like Sporty from Nutwood. Has a corrido named after him. He's an active Mexican mafia member on the streets, and and I just looked at the organization and what it's becoming, right? And I don't understand if it's to create a narrative, right? To be seen as more human, uh, to show that they are loved. I don't know what the motivation is or the objective is of the organization in utilizing social media, uh, but I know that it wasn't done in my day, and it wasn't done in the founders' day. It didn't exist back then, right? But I think the worst part of all this is that the organization is adapting to what it has, and that's social media, right? And in doing so, this mentality, this language, like using the N word, that these funny haircuts and these funny gang styles and rap music, that's coming into play in the organization. And the organization is very versatile. Look what it did in Pelican Bay Shoe. It adapted, right? It adapted, it adapted, it adapted. The organization has evolved from a basic street gang into a nationwide criminal syndicate. A lot of people don't see that, right? That they run casitas, that they have extortion activities, that they participate in eliminations. That's the truth. Nobody can deny that, right? That they have ties to transnational criminal organizations like Mexican drug cartels. A lot of people can't see that because they can only think prison yard and Orale Vato Simones. No, it's not that organization, but it is an organization that's evolving. And I think this Edgar Generation stuff is seeping into the life's blood of the organization. And you're seeing that by multiple members utilizing social media and the language that's being used by the participants, the infrastructure, if you will, of the organization. Because Sky Burgeon is not the only one that speaks this way. I've listened to a number of calls where camaradas and individuals doing work for the organization utilize this language. But I thought it would give you something to think about, right? Food for thought. What will the organization be in 25 years? With this continued evolution and the predominance of social media, the importance of these type of smart communications, and this addressing the masses, right, through the only means they have available to them. What will it do to all four organizations? Because it's not just the AB, it's not just the Mexican Mafia doing this, it's the Norteños, as evidenced in these TikTok and Instagram videos that I've watched. It's the Paisa groups, 16, Mexicles, and every other group that you can think of. Even black gangs are doing it. Everybody's joining this new movement or this new wave of communication, and that's social media, right? But it begs the question: is this the right thing to do for a secret criminal organization? Is this prudent? Will it come back to bite them in the ass? Will it be detrimental to their parole efforts in the future? Because all of them are up for parole. Um, will it have a negative impact? How can it be construed? Because you got to look at it from all those angles. Everything they do is going to be utilized in a court of law, at a board hearing, as confidential information, the whole nine yards, right? In fact, they're even posting with their cell phones. They're recording anything you can think of, from violence to eliminations, to cooking in their cells, and they're utilizing illegal cell phones, right? Obviously, and that in and of itself is admission of the possession of an illegal communication device, which is a cell phone, which could be used against them in the board in the future, right? And as well as a CDC 115 or an RVR, what they call them now, RVR, Rules Violation Report. So is this, all this posting of all this content, of all this material, what is the end goal and what benefit is it to the organization? I think it's kind of like a narrative dictation, right? That they're trying to rewrite the narrative. They're trying to rewrite the narrative. Did I say trying? I did say trying. Yeah, I think they're trying to establish their narrative, right? Because I suffered that, and everybody does who's ever been in social media or been covered by the mainstream media. They dictate who you are to the masses. And I think that they are trying to rewrite that and say, this is who we are. That's not what the mainstream media says, but this is who we are. I don't think there's a major coordinated, centralized effort yet. I think that each individual just posting this stuff on their own, or their wives are posting it, or whatever. But it's out there, and everybody sees it, including law enforcement. Believe you me, law enforcement's copying everything that goes up there. And that's just a fact. And it will be introduced at a trial at some point in the future. And that's just a fact. But here's the question, right? It provides food for thought. Is this the right thing to do for mobsters? Is it smart for them to do? What are your thoughts on it? I mean, how do you feel about it? How do you feel about gang members using the N-word, right? Mexican gang members. There's one clip that I want to show you right now is where the black guy says, when did Mexicans stop becoming Mexicans? And he runs a little clip, right? About, Mexicans using the N-word, right?
What happened to Mexicans being Mexicans? Like, they used to say fu, vato, ese. Now all they do is just say nigga. Man, bring back the real Mexican homies.
It's kind of ludicrous that even other races notice that Mexicans aren't acting like Mexicans, and neither should Sureño gang members, right? What do you guys think about this? That's what I posted this for. I know how I think about it, right? But what do you think about it? And that's your thought for today. That's your homework. Échale lápiz. Figure it out, right? Drop your comment in the response. As always, like, subscribe, forward to a friend. Hype this video, folks. Hype, hype, hype. Important to the algorithm. It supports the channel. As always, have a beautiful day and stay safe. I'm out.
This is Rene Enriquez. Nickname Uncensored.